Alright, boys and girls, listen up, because I'm only going to tell you this once. This is how you install the SB2, but before we do that, I'm going to go over the functions of it. Your first button is your rate of fire and burst mode from 1 all the way up to 10 round burst, and then you go to full auto. Second button is your rate of fire, 400 rounds a minute, all the way up to 2,000 rounds a minute. The third button is your pulse. This controls the amount of air that's put into each shot. The digits represent milliseconds, from 4 milliseconds to 12 milliseconds. The longer the barrel, the more milliseconds you're going to want to put into your shot, up to a certain point. On average, most of us keep it around 7 for this length barrel, and for the longer barrel. Alright, that being said, let's take this puppy apart. It's easier if you just go ahead and take the mag off. We'll get into the mag mod in another video. Alright, now the first thing you want to do is loosen your barrel. If you have the stock barrel, I'm trying to remember, I can't really remember what you do with the stock barrel, but it'll come to me. If you have one of Jim C's or Ray's barrels, you just go ahead and start tearing it down. At this point, you don't have to remove the actual barrel. Now, that allows you to open it up a little bit and pull off the solenoid cover, which can be kind of a pain. Okay, yeah. Sorry folks, it's been a while since I've done this. What we got to do is just loosen up the stock a little bit so we can pop the cover off with this one. Now, I know this isn't a stock setup, but you should be able to figure it out. Okay, now that's off. Now, from this point, what we need to do is desolder the solenoid. Actually, if you don't already have the board in it, what you need to do is cut these leads, and then when you go to put it back together, you're going to have to resolder them. Hello. Hello. I should have changed my tip for this, but oh well. Some guys put, quick disconnects here, which would be a good idea. It doesn't want to act right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and switch out my... There we go, come on. There's one. Any day. Gosh, I hope this doesn't take longer than 10 minutes. Ah! Come on. Alright. Sorry to bore the crap out of you guys. Didn't think about changing my tip. Okay. That's not right. Okay, now that we've got that done, you can... Oh, come on. Yeah. Bear with me, folks. Alright. Now we can pull it apart and get to the fun stuff. Now, if you do ever have to take your barrel off, right in here between the barrel bushing and the frame, there's a couple of washers in there, and if you take your barrel off and you've never done it before, and you go put it back together and you try to look at the owner's manual and the parts breakdown, you're not going to see those washers in there, and you're going to wonder where the hell they go. So just keep in mind. Now there's two screws that, oh, dang it, that separate this. I'm going to have to get an Allen wrench and take that laser off. You're going to have to get a metric Allen wrench. Ding dong. Why didn't I think of that? Everything's made in China. Except Sergey's board and the Drozd. Okay. Nope, doesn't go there. Alright. Now, we can get down to business. You're going to want to take these screws out. There's one in the front. And if you're wondering what this contraption is, it's a battery pack that goes down in there, 18.5 volt LiPo battery pack. You're going to want to run some juice to your board. You can run it on regular AA's, but you're not going to get much fun out of it. That's where the other screw lives. It likes to hide in there. Alright, now you just pull it apart gently. Yeah, okay. And inside, oh, Sergey's board already in there. Now, at this point, what you want to do is remove your trigger assembly. And there's a little spring in there that you need to be mindful of, because it'll pop out and shoot across the room and get lost under something. Just gently pry it up. Don't lose your spring. Okay, now from here, I'm not going to take this board out, but I'll explain to you a few things about it. These are the just thin plastic tabs that I harvested from a chocolate Easter bunny box. I like them thin; they work better. When you install your buttons, what you need to do is get some thin plastic like this and go ahead and rough it up with some sandpaper, and get some good epoxy that says it's for plastic, and epoxy your buttons to your tabs and let it sit overnight. Don't get in a hurry, because you'll have to take your gun apart again to redo it. And a word of caution: when you put your when you glue your buttons to these tabs, don't have anything, if you have anything squeeze out on the sides, clean it up, because when you go to put these tabs in and buttons, what's going to happen is, if there's anything on the outside of those buttons, it's going to keep your button from going in all the way. And then when you go to put your board in, which by the way is a very tight fit, and I've always had to file down the sides of them. Don't get into the copper trace on the sides though. Anyway, your board's not going to want to pass the buttons, because they're going to be actually sticking in a little bit. And there's also a few things that you need to know about. There's a few bosses down in there that you're going to need to cut your tabs around to fit. You'll see that when you go to install. Of course, these need to come out. And for your the template I sent you, what you do is you just put it over this part, and that shows you your button locations and your window. If you have a bumblebee, I'm sorry I didn't put your hole there. So if you do have a bumblebee, please tell me, and I will put a hole right here for your jack. The window. I use 2mm plexiglass. It's about the same thickness as the wall right here. You can get it colored, you can do whatever you want with it, but yeah, I don't have any fancy tools. All this was done by hand. When you go to drill your holes, it's always a good idea, if you don't have a drill press or CNC or anything like that, make a pilot hole first. And another trick you can do to get real good centering is on the template that I sent you. You can draw an X to locate the center, and that will tell you where to put your pilot hole, and then just work it up to the width of the button. I can't remember what size it is, but you can just butt a drill bit up to it and find out. And once you get the hole up to that size, you can kind of use your drill to waller it out a little bit to get the button to slide smoothly in there. The window, I did that with a Dremel tool. I forgot to bring out the tools, but yeah, I mean, just whatever bit you can find with the Dremel tool will work well for that. And cut your hole out. Nobody's gonna shame you if you make it a little too big. Just don't get up past that right there. And then after you cut your hole, you need to cut your plexiglass with the Dremel tool and some kind of a circular saw blade, and to rough size. And then comes the fun part, painstakingly fitting it into here. Don't get in a hurry. Once you get it close, keep test fitting it, and you should be fine. Other than that, I think that about covers it. If you have any questions, you have my email address by now, and